All right, so welcome everyone again to the Product Intelligence Sync on the 13th of December. It's probably going to be the second to last one or something this year. So let's make it count. We have a bunch of topics to get through, but before we dive into like the actual topics, I want to give a few minutes to Jonas to maybe quickly introduce himself. Because I'm very happy that we have a new joiner, that Product Intelligence is growing again. I learned today that there were like 8 engineers at some point in Product Intelligence in the past. So we still have some way to go when it comes to growth, but we're getting there. All right, over to you, Jonas.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Jonas from, as you can see in the background, dark, cloudy Denmark. I had my first day yesterday, and I'm really excited to join. It's been an interesting interview process, so I feel like I had a good time, a good opportunity to talk to people in different departments. But it'll be good to get to know you. A bit about my background. Maybe I've computer science major from like 15 years ago, and been doing mostly software development since then. In different startups, I've been doing a lot of Ruby, but kind of on or off. I spent a lot of time on Ruby like 10 years ago, and for about 5 years, and then I had a bit of a break where I was doing mostly Java, and back to some Ruby and some Java and so on. Yeah. And GitLab will be the biggest company I've worked at since I briefly worked at a bank right after university, and found out that that was not my thing at all. So you also have to get used to this kind of like yeah, a lot of people, a lot of departments, and so on. I think it's going well. Privately, I have 3 kids, and yeah, live here in Aarhus. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jonas, for the short intro. And I think, I mean, apart from the amount of people, I hope there's not a lot that can compare us to a bank. So let's hope that there's your experience.
Oh, no. I mean, there was also a complete, that was like, I don't know what, 20 times the headcount as GitLab. So
we still have some way to go.
Yeah. No worries at all.
Okay. Awesome. So as a next step, I'd like to try something that I think other groups are also doing, which would be to go through the current state of the milestone. I mean, we're very close to completing the milestone, and there's at least, besides me, also Mikola and Piotr here. You can kind of allude a bit to the issues they've been working on, and so that we get a bit of an overview of the current state of things. That's something we didn't do so far before. Again, it's just for trying it out. This is something that you can definitely give feedback on, or either later directly to me or in the retro issue. The idea behind this is to create a bit more transparency or also awareness around the overall state of our progress, when it's not only about like the specific issue someone is working on. And for that, I'm going to try to share my screen. I haven't done this so far with Zoom, so this can only go wrong. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it readable, or should I zoom in a bit?
No, it's fine for me, but I will.
Yeah, fine for me as well.
Okay, and let's keep it like this. All right, so today I would just kind of lead this going through. In the future, this is also something that not I necessarily need to do, but anyone else can take over as well. And I would suggest we just kind of go from the back to like start from the back when it comes to our process, and then go through the issues that are not closed yet, and for when whoever is here in the call, they can maybe add a few short sentences to what the current state is, and if they expect the issue to be closed within the milestone, which will end at the end of this week. That's fine with everyone. So I can start. By chance, mine's the last one. So the new tabs for the metrics dictionary, it's in deployment right now. Deployment takes a bit longer than I expected, but should be fine. It's if there's no kind of issues, unexpected ones, they should definitely be in until the end of the week. Michał, what about the version app change?
So this one is in code review now, and it has one approval, just waiting for the second approval.
Nice. So I would assume that we can also get this done by the end of the week, or very likely.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, the next one is from Nico. He's not here right now, but I quickly checked, and there's 2 open MRs regarding this. One of them already with some feedback. So I think he already made good progress on this, but I'm not 100% sure if it gets merged. If not, I would assume that there's only minor things to clean up next week. It doesn't seem to be like major remarks on the MRs yet. But yeah, let's see. So this is not clear yet whether it gets delivered. Then we have the monitoring and generating of the service ping. I don't know, is there anything special to report there?
No, business as usual, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Just so that you know, I checked again with the data team today because they were supposed to deploy the automated service ping end of last week. That was the official deadline to get everything done. It might have been moved again, so there were some issues beforehand. I'll keep you updated. So let's see. It seems like it's close to being finished, and we can get rid of having to do this manually. But yeah, you never know. So maybe we can get rid of this till the end of this year. Let's see again. The next 2 issues are from you, Piotr. Can you give us a short update?
Yeah, well, the IP enrichment is actually quite simple, so I'll have something today, and I should probably we should probably go through the review till the end of the month. So I think we're okay with this. And with the snowplow events, I think only one metric remains here. So so this should also squeeze in, I think. So yeah, no problems here, I think.
Okay. Nice. Then let's see, maybe we can get this done completely. The more snowplow stuff we get out of the way, I guess the better it is. Michał, what about the next one?
This one is split to 2 MRs. One MR has 1 approval right now, and the second one has the code ready, but before I move it to review, we need the first one on master.
Okay. So I guess if it gets carried over into the next milestone, we should also not expect a lot of additional work to be done next week.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, the cool thing is there's nothing blocked right now, at least to my knowledge. I have to check with Carlo about this one, but then I think the version app migration scripts, that's something that you just took up today.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my assumption would be that we might have some carryover there as well into the next milestone then.
Yes, probably.
Okay, cool. As a general information there also, I'm pinged infrastructure again about the timing of the migration itself to the next cluster. There was some back and forth about who would be responsible from infrastructure side to carry out the migration. So it's not clear yet when this will happen. I think it's still worth it that we get this out of the way, the preparing the scripts from outside, so that we are no longer the blocker and can theoretically react spontaneously if they have time available. But yeah, it's up to them right now to figure out, okay, when they have capacity and time. And I guess the sooner the better, but yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated as soon as we have an exact timeline from their side.
Okay.
Nice. Is there anything that's currently not on the board where someone feels like that's important to the current milestone, or that they're working on, they would like to mention right now and give an update on? All right. If there's nothing, then I think we can close this part. Again, feel free to kind of share with me afterwards if this sync about the board in any way helps you or provides value to you, so that we can evaluate if we want to keep it in the future. And then I think we can go into the next items. The next one is from me in the agenda. It's just one thing that I came across is the question of how much do we want to expose the underlying technologies when it comes to event tracking to our internal users, internal or external. I guess that doesn't matter. As kind of a new joiner, I was kind of surprised also to in the documentation that it talks a lot about Redis and Snowplow and like the technologies that we are using for event tracking. And especially through the documentation, they get exposed a lot. I think in the case of Redis, they also get, like, when you create a metric, you actually, like, it's called a Redis metric and so on. So there it's even more apparent. In the case of Snowplow, I think it's more on the documentation side, on our side, because the actual implementation is GitLab tracking. So in theory, I think there's just the documentation that needs to change. And I just wanted to bring this up generally, if we have what our opinions kind of going forward regarding this kind of naming issue. If there's, my personal opinion would be that it would be better to hide this a bit more, kind of hide the implementation and provide APIs and in the future strive towards providing APIs and documentation that is more kind of generic, like, for example, GitLab tracking, instead of exposing the name. I mean, there can still the underlying technology. There can still be, I think, ways or we don't need to hide the fact, for example, that we are using Snowplow under the hood. But from my point of view, it shouldn't be front and center. But I just wanted to gather kind of overall opinions about like what we should strive towards. So to me, kind of the outcome of this would be to figure out, okay, in the future, do we want to go more towards these generic APIs, or do we want to keep this exposure of our technologies directly to the end user?
As a general comment, whenever we have the opportunities to name things, we should really always focus on what it enables people to do, not how it does it. Because as a user of it, I don't care whether the tracking is done with Snowplow, Redis, someone looking at the database logs and sending me an email. I care about what it is actually enabling me to do. So I'd be in favor of us moving to a name that reflects more of the what it does as opposed to the Redis Snowplow implementation. That also gives us the flexibility in the future if we want to adapt new technologies. That becomes a transparent change to the consumer of any of the APIs or the interfaces, because we don't need to introduce a new, trying to think of something that might replace Redis, like a new MongoDB set of APIs. It's just a change to the implementation of the send data, get data APIs.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the agenda, I agree with all of that, and there are some parts of the documentation that describe implementational details, so they should probably say the same. But generally, we should describe things by purpose rather than the implementation details.
Yep, same here, full support on that matter. I think it's also confusing to the users, like why Redis HL, and I believe we even have a couple of issues to push that forward, this initiative, that we might want to use something more descriptive with more meaning to the end user rather than the name of the technology.
Yeah, I think we all agreed in the original issue, but then we couldn't decide on the exact naming. So
the famous quote: "Only two hard things in the computer science: naming things and invalidating the cache."
Yeah, so I think actually naming things is the real problem here, and
yeah, but it's good. So for me, we can then kind of move on to the next part of our agenda, because I just wanted to make sure that we are all in agreement here, and it seems like that's the case. So even apart from creating new issues now, or like going and changing all the naming right now, I think it's just important that we have this common understanding, because then we can keep it in mind whenever new APIs get created, or when we change something on our existing APIs, to keep that in mind as a direction that we wanna go for. That's, I think, important in many, like as a context in many ways, when we go forward and create new things. Thanks a lot for the input. Mikolai, I think the next one's up to you.
Yeah, and things kind of alludes to the previous point. So recently I came across a discussion where contributors were confused which metric to use. The Redis seems to be much, but it lacks the insights which on the namespace level for SAS. So they were reluctant to use it. Then it was brought up that we can migrate it to Snowplow, which leads me to the point that we might consider, we might not be ready just yet, but we might consider going towards unification of the API, because right now we have kind of two events collection systems available. One is Redis, which works for the self-managed and works kind of for the SAS, but not fully. And the Snowplow, which works for the SAS, but not for the self-managed. So there may be an opportunity to unify the interface and try to route and hide the implementation details behind the single facade. That may help all GitLab adopt better the event-driven systems, rather than consider database metrics or struggle which one to choose. So I opened the issue, and this is a shout out and invite to everyone to just pay a visit, drop your thoughts and comments there, and see if we are ready, or what we need to do in order to be ready to unify, or if it's even worth to unify.
So I'll write down my response after. I agree, Mikola. I think this is definitely something we should be moving towards the direction. I haven't replied to your comment because I'm working on a merge request to update our direction page with more of a cross-stage vision, because this can be even more broad than just what we talked about with product intelligence today. Because as we move into the product instrumentation or application instrumentation category, where we'll be providing things to external customers and external users to be consuming, we're going to have this exact same concern where those users don't want to know all of the 5 different approaches that GitLab has for instrumentation. They will want a single, here's the GitLab APIs, I call them, magic happens, and I get my data where it needs to be. I'm trying to encapsulate that sort of broader vision on the external customers, external users, as well as external groups within GitLab that would benefit from this. I think this is definitely something we should take on in 2023 as one of our bigger initiatives. Because similar to the changing the names perspective, if we have everything unified under here's the GitLab tracking umbrella, it lets us do anything we want with the underlying implementation, whether that's Redis, HLL, Snowplow, something else. And Yes, all that to say is I owe you a longer response. I'm working on an MR, but I agree with the direction. Unification is where we need to be going with this.
Maybe
Awesome.
just
Tag me along if you have a draft of MR. I would be very curious to just give it a read as soon as there's anything that you would like to share and feel comfortable with.
Sure. I'm heading out for Christmas vacation at the end of this week, so I will definitely have something before the end of the week. So that will be up for sure.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, just one maybe also from my side, quick thumbs up to that. That it's I think also that's very important from my side. Also, it might be worth it to invest in a spike around kind of figuring out how something like this could look like given the existing technologies. Not necessarily implementing it, but just having a spike and an API in mind, because we have these two like Snowplow and Redis, which serve the same purpose but work differently. And just understanding how such an API could look like, I think could enable us to make better decisions down the road. Also, when it comes to incorporating new technologies, understanding how a transition period could look like, and those kinds of things. At least from my point of view, this might be information worth having, that someone sits down and considers a bit more, okay, if we merge those two together and provide one unified API, what would that even mean? Like, how would that look? Could that look like? And what would be the constraints? All right, then we have one more thing from Michał.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I want to becoming a maintainer of version app, and it's not so often that we get MRs in version app, so I would be happy to take any reviews that you need there.
Cool, yeah, nice. That's gonna continue the takeover of the version app from our side. All right, everyone, that's it from the items on the agenda. Do we have anything that's not on the agenda yet that came to anyone's mind? Because otherwise we're also at time.
We may just give a quick shout out that we have a social call right after this one. So if you are not in a hurry, you may want to stay around.
Right, then thanks a lot to everyone for the sync today, and I'll hopefully see you around in a few minutes in the social call.
Hey, folks.